Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Steve Cavendish. He's the editor of the new Nashville Banner, an online news service just began in Nashville last week. Steve, what got you interested in doing this online news service and naming it the Nashville Banner? It's been gone for 20 years. Does it still have a lot of name recognition? Is it still a brand in Nashville?
Well, there's a couple things there. One is I have sentimental reasons for it. I graduated from Belmont, graduated on a Saturday and started at the Banner on a Monday. It was my first job out of school. I had a great experience. I learned a lot of the bedrock journalism that I've practiced at the Banner. But the other piece of that is that there's still value as a brand. You know, if you tell anybody that, if you mention the Banner's name to anybody who's 35 or older, you know, it still means news. Now, it may mean different things to different people. It may mean, you know, conservative versus liberal, because that's what the op-ed page was. But by and large, there's a lot to it. And Gannett walked away from it. I mean, the reason why we have the Banner name is because they just let the trademark lapse. And so Bruce Doby, who's on our board, picked it up a few years ago, and that's why we have it. Are you sending out, or you plan to send out a daily newsletter update to let people know what's on the site, or are you just waiting for them to say, hey, I need to go check that again today? We're going to meet people in a lot of different ways. So we're going to meet them kind of where they are. If you want something in your inbox, we're going to have a daily email product. If you want to come to our site, we're going to have that updating when we launch. You know, we're going to be pretty active on social media. We've got some pretty exciting things kind of planned for video. We're really excited. What kind of stories are you going to focus on? I know you're talking about restoring sort of public journalism. I understand it's government, courts, which you talked about already, education, and investigative reporting. Right. That's the core of what we're going to do. Basically, think about it this way: when you make kind of the little d democratic decisions in your life, you know, who is, and you want to evaluate that, you know, who is building my sidewalks, who is running my schools, and how are they doing, who's running the government, who's running the state government. Those are really important questions that have big impacts on your life, and we're going to cover that and kind of a range of issues kind of broadly around that. I know you do. Things will grow as you go, and you'll be adding things as things are in the news. But you know, people will say, well, why not crime? Why not growth? Why not the weather? Because it's in the news a whole lot more today than ever has been because of climate change. Well, so we'll cover. I don't think we're going to cover kind of day-to-day kind of like beat crime, but we'll cover the criminal justice system because I think there's a lot of impacts there for people. We'll cover growth and development, but we're not going to cover, for instance, every single commercial real estate transaction. You know, the story of Nashville right now, you cannot talk about Nashville without talking about the cost of living here, without talking about the ways that Nashville has changed. Those are all going to be big topics that we cover. Now, investigative reporting may be the most productive thing you're going to do, but it's also the most difficult and time-consuming. I mean, not every tip works out, and not every idea pans out for a story. Are you ready to make that kind of time and commitment when you've only got 10 people? We have to make that commitment. If we don't start making that commitment now, nobody else is. And that's the problem. We've lost so many dedicated resources at the local level that we have to be very intentional about putting these back. And investigative is a very large category of that. Do you find there's still a lot of journalism, or maybe ex-journalists, who'd like to come back and work? And are you adding people full-time, or are these people coming in on a part-time basis? No, we're gonna add a staff back full-time. I don't think you can do journalism on a part-time basis. I don't think you can do it just with freelancers. But you've done a lot of freelance work for major publications here. Are you continue to do that? No, I mean, no, I'm not right now. We talked before about it. Do you consider your competition to be not just the print places in town, but everything online, including the 4 television stations, and for that matter, WPLN and the other stations, the radio stations in town that have news operations? Yeah, I mean, we're going to be competitive with all of them, but I think we have to quit thinking about competition the way when we started with when I started at the Banner. You know, we were competitive on every single story. We would match every story. We would try to, we were trying to break everything in the market. We've lost so much within Nashville. I mean, Nashville has grown to an area of over 2 million people, and yet we have fewer journalists covering it now than at any point, you know, in the last 50 or 60 years. the problems that we have are not going to be solved by us saying we're going to break every story, and scoop everybody. You know, a lot of what we're going to be doing is trying to break things and tell individual stories and break new stories.
You mentioned Demetria Kalodimos, who's listed as your executive editor, and you mentioned her as a partner. What's her role going to be, particularly since you're a print guy? Most of the people in your office right now are probably print guys, but she's a TV journalist, an award-winning one. So is it going to be a major video component of your site?
And when we start producing, so the next piece that we're going to produce here to the Banner's email list next week is going to be a video piece from Demetria. And she's going to do video. She's going to do a lot of podcasts, a lot of kind of multimedia. We got some fun stuff kind of in store.
Quickly, last question: how good does it feel to be back in the functioning newsroom again? I think you're doing it all virtually. And how frustrating was it not to be able to do that over the last couple of years?
There's been so much news here in the last 2 years, 3 years, that it has been really nice to think about what stories can we tell, as opposed to, wow, everyone else is getting to do this and not us.
Steve Cavendish, thank you so much for coming on the program. Good luck with your new venture, and I'm sure we'll have you back here to talk about what's going on in the news and what else is going on with the Banner.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. We'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, you go to News 501 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. The new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye.